So I had this one teacher in 8th grade. His name is Mr. Sprinkle, so the name alone, was rough. Anyway, he taught social studies, and I hate social studies to begin with. So he was like one of those teachers that just did like the same thing every day. Like notes, like boring.
12th grade, I had the worst teacher I've ever had in my entire life. His name was Mr. Ciano. He taught AP Stats. And I considered myself a good student. I try to respect every teacher that I have. But because he was such a mean and angry and overall terrible person, I had no respect for him. I did not care to learn in his class. It made me not want to go to class because of the things that he would say about other students.
He would go off on kids for like no reason. He'd be like in groups, and if he had a kid that like he just didn't like that day, he was just like, no, I can't handle you. He would yell at them to the point where kids would be miserable walking into his class. So he was just like one of those teachers that was always angry, and I don't think he should be a teacher because he just couldn't handle kids.
I remember like one of the first days that I met this man, he told everyone to raise their hand if they were in Mr. Conrad's class. That was the previous year before. And when two of us raised our hand, he was like, oh, you must have been in their special ed class. So I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I just met you.
I didn't want to go to class. I don't think anybody wanted to go to class. We had like a few minutes in the beginning of class where we would just all sit and talk about him before he actually came into the room. Because we knew what to expect. He would actually come in with like a little teacup filled with coffee, and he'd make kids like each day go get him coffee with his teacup. Like, what are you doing?
Well, I guess a good teacher, on a very basic sense, would be someone that can break down information properly, that can make it easier for others to understand it. Obviously, is knowledgeable in their content area and is available to help, as far as the school day is concerned, schedule-wise and things like that.
Best thing was doing one-on-one meeting with them, talking to them, finding things that were of interest.
I also think it's someone that is going to be fair, that it's going to be consistent with their rules or expectations, how they handle misbehavior or issues within the classroom. I also think a teacher needs to be very unbiased. I think that's a very important quality. Because even though we obviously have our views and we are going to have opinions, sometimes very strong opinions about certain things, we can't influence what you teach, how you teach it, and how you view students, because you are there to help them grow, but you're not there to necessarily shape them in one specific way. It's important to show them everything, I guess, both sides of the coin.
I am a teacher of the deaf, a certified teacher of the deaf. I went to Gallaudet University. I have a master's degree in deaf education. I've been a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing in an itinerant setting where I've gone from school to school. I even did parent home visits at one time. And then I worked at St. Francis de Sales School for the Deaf in Brooklyn. I worked there for 8 years, and I taught special ed for 3 years up at the CRC in Kingston. And then from there I went on to teach sign language as a foreign language for 5 years with the Sullivan BOCES distance learning program. And then at that point, then I came here to SUNY New Paltz and have been teaching deaf culture and heritage and sign language ASL courses.
Why did I want to be a teacher? I guess I should probably answer with who my favorite teacher is first. When I first came here, my ESL teacher, or now it's ENL, was Mr. Maggio, and I would consider him not only a mentor and someone that I aspired to be and as a teacher, but I think someone I also respect a lot as a person. He was obviously the first teacher I really had to deal with and who worked with me multiple times a day while I was learning English, and he was also very helpful with all my other classes. He would make sure that we were all surviving, I guess. He was also very involved with our lives outside of school. I remember multiple times him not only calling the house, but make sure that we got out of the school setting as a group with all other ESL students, so we could also start engaging in what it is to be a member of our community. So we would do field trips. We would often go into the city to either see plays, to go for walks around Manhattan, to go to Central Park, to go ice skating. We would go to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island and walk around the South Street Seaport. I mean, we would do a lot of things that I think help you not only connect with your community, but also help you, I think it helped us just understand more of where we were culture-wise, and I think that also facilitated language because we were in more real-life settings, which I think it's extremely helpful, and I think it's one of the things that made me realize why I wanted to teach. I wanted to have that same impact on other people. I wanted to be able to help other kids like me that had similar experiences, I guess, growing up. And even though I don't teach ENL and I don't work with a lot of ENL students now, I still see my students that same way. I want to show them as much of the world as I can, and show them all the other things that maybe they don't get enough contact with. So I think because of Mr. Maggio and his devotion to us throughout our time, that's really why I wanted to also be a teacher myself.
My favorite teacher of all time was probably my social studies teacher that I had both in 8th and 12th grade. And I think that he was a politics teacher, and I think that what made him so different than everyone else was that he genuinely cared so much about his students. You could always go to him if you were having a hard time, or if you needed to make something up at a different time or anything, and he was always there for you. And he was like, you could always go to his classroom like after school or whatever, and it was always some sort of like therapy session, and you always had someone to talk to at all times. And I think that's something that isn't necessarily like included in every teacher you're ever gonna have, that someone who really does genuinely care about every single person that sits in their class every day. Yeah, everyone loved him so much. I think everyone really enjoyed going to that class because the way that he taught, it wasn't just, well, the First Amendment is this, the Second Amendment is that. He brought everyone into it, and it was always some sort of personal, real-life example. And just the way that he spoke was so comforting almost, and just everyone was able to really like grasp the material. And he also made it fun, which at some point in government isn't exactly the most fun subject.
Well, I was going to be an actress, and then I got my BA in theater, and then I had started doing work with at Easter SEAL camps in the summer, and I met deaf people and became very interested in deaf culture and the deaf community and sign language. And then when I graduated from college with my BA, I went on to the Peace Corps in a little rural village in Ghana in West Africa. And while I was there, I continued to meet deaf people. I went and visited some of the schools for the deaf that were there, and it was very eye-opening and very interesting to me. It really kind of changed my life when I started doing that work. It was a really great opportunity for me to become immersed in a deaf community and to work on my skills being a teacher of the deaf.
My favorite teacher probably is the one I had in 4th grade. Her name was Mrs. Salopoulos, and she really made me interested in math and like school, because before that, like, I was a good student, but like I didn't find it fun. She made everything fun. There was this one game we used to play, it was called 24, and she made everything kind of like a game instead of like, you know, just study and do like the boring stuff. It was called 24, and we would always have a competition in school. She was like the director, so like from 3rd all the way till 6th grade in elementary school, we all played it, and it was like the most fun.
So other students felt the same way about her, since it wasn't just you.
Yeah. She was by far like the best teacher in the school. Yeah, in 4th grade is when we first started to switch. We would actually go between classes. Like, until then, it was always the same teacher you had for all your subjects. But Miss Salopoulos, she taught social studies and math, And then we had another teacher who taught English and science, but like his class was never any fun compared to like what she did.
My favorite teacher was the music and drama teacher, the choir teacher in high school, Mr. Freeman, and he was just a dynamic person who really was able to take, you know, teenagers and have us put on plays and sing in choirs and do amazing things with music. Had a real energetic spirit about him that was so wonderful to work with. He was very popular with the students. He had a passion for music and a passion for teaching. He loved to teach. He loved to, you know, play the piano, write, you know, lead choirs. You know, he was artistic and really friendly with everybody.
I had a friend who was really, really shy in classes, didn't want to raise her hand, and when he called on her, she got really red, and he addressed it. He literally went, "Oh my God, look how red she just got. Everyone look how red she got." And I was like, sitting there, don't address that. If you have a nervous student, that's the absolute worst thing you can do to get them to participate. He used to call on kids, and he used to like purposefully call on the shyest kids, and that just makes you not want to come to class and make you not want to participate.
No matter what anyone said, it was always met with like that's a good way of thinking about it. Or even if you total left field, had no idea what the real answer was, and someone just blurted something out, he was just kind of like, "I see that you tried." Like, and it was never like, "That's the wrong answer, what's wrong with you?"
Like anyone wanted to participate, but if he called on you, you kind of just participated because you were scared he would yell at you. So you didn't want to participate, you were forced to participate.
There was always a comforting take on the idea of, well, we don't exactly think of it that way, this is another way that we usually see it.
I'm a shy kid, but I would always like raise my hand and participate.
That any thought that you had could be shared and it would have been accepted and then explained further.
How they handle misbehavior or issues within the classroom, I think it's someone who tries to listen to their students and whenever possible reaches out to them, tries to see what else is going on, not just with content but also on a more personal level, whether it's an issue at home or at school with another student or just any other issues that can arise, obviously, in a student's life.
It's really, again, back to that thing of being human about teaching, you know, getting to know somebody. You have to find out what's going on in their life as to why they're that way. Maybe they can't read. Maybe they need help with things that, you know, really looking at the individual and trying to communicate with them and express your care in a way that's not so, like, top down. Yeah.
She was funny. She was always really nice to like everyone.
He was always there for you.
He was passionate about teaching and passionate about his subject.
She was passionate in what she did.
And he genuinely cared about his students so much.
And she like cared about all of her students.
He knew people individually. He knew, you know, about their lives.
If they were to remember one thing about me in class, I guess it would be how important it is to listen, to read, to be respectful of others, you know, which goes with the whole being open-minded and being informed of all sides of things, not just the side that you know about or that you feel strongly about. And I guess being more environmentally sound, I think that's important going forward. Especially, I don't know, I guess I feel more strongly about it now that I'm with someone that knows so much more about it than I ever did before, and I think having a child also changes your perspective on things like that.
I think the impact of it, hopefully they have a memory that they had a teacher who cared about them and made them feel good about who they were no matter what their situation was. I take that to my teaching now, and my hope is that my college students, if nothing else from taking the diversity course, if they ever meet a deaf person, they will have opened up their mind and be able to say, oh, and have gained the perspective like, oh, maybe this person uses sign language, maybe this person needs a different kind of communication, but more about opening up people's minds. We're all different and we're all special in our own way. You know, if when we go out in the world we can treat others that way. I always say probably my biggest lessons in life came from my mother, was just to go out and be pleasant and nice to everybody and be interested in people, and I hope that some of that overflows to students that I work with.
How do I want to impact students? I think more than my words and whatever lesson I do in Spanish, or whatever little life comment or lesson I share with them, I think the most important thing I can do to impact my students is how I personally carry myself. How do I act? How do I not only present myself on a regular basis, but the kind of things I do when they're not there, when they don't see me. I think that's important to be a really good role model. I think that would be, I guess, how I want to impact them. I want them to be better citizens and people, but I want to make sure that they get that from me as an example too, as a model. So I guess that would be it. That would be what I would say to those questions.
I thank God they were there to see me through. This one's for you. I told you all I'd write you a song.